Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jasmine and I'm going to be giving you my top tips on what made me succeed and get an A in Anatomy and Physiology 1 and 2. In case you're about to get ready to take Anatomy and Physiology for the very first time, please do not feel scared or just intimidated by it, because honestly it's not that bad. It's not as bad as everybody says it is. It is definitely a lot of memorization and a lot of information in it, but all of this can be managed with the right tactics. So one of the main tips that I highly recommend is watching lectures before class. So if you're going over the reproductive system that day, let's say, I would highly advise that you watch videos about that before going into class, so you have an idea of what you're getting into and you kind of already have a base understanding. And if your professor provides lecture videos, please watch those because those are very important. I want to say that's honestly probably what saved me and it made me more confident in my studying and during exams, watching those videos before class and going back to them if you have any questions or concerns about that topic in general. I also want to mention that if you don't have Quizlet, please sign up for it because it honestly helps me so much. And if you can, you should probably sign up for Quizlet Pro. I believe it's $5 a month, and with that you can make the practice test and practice games, which is really cool. So it definitely helps with memorizing the information that you need. So I have my laptop pulled up and this is an example of a quiz that I would create, and I would really section everything off so I can stay organized whenever I would go back to study for the final. But basically I would just kind of make practice questions and just go through the flashcards to review it and understand it. Like this one, what structure provides support for the mucous membrane? And then you would just put the answer and then it would go ahead and tell you the right answer. Another thing that I really love about Quizlet is that you can add photos. Like for this question, what are the organs of the lower respiratory tract? And of course, if you're a visual person, this really helps. So right here it shows the organs, the trachea, primary bronchi, and the lungs. So it's really good if you're a visual learner and if you like repetition, and this is just a great way to do active recall. Okay, so over here I pulled up my iPad so I can show you what Quizlet offers. So if you use the Learn, it helps you just memorize the information that you need. So it kind of gives you a little quiz, what are the two main classes of endocrine hormones, and then you just put the answer. So it'll be steroid and lipid. And it just feels nice knowing that you got a question right, and if you get it wrong then it'll just give it to you again. Sorry, I had to put my hair back because it was bothering me. But anyways, if you have an iPad, this is very important. I think you should highly use it because honestly, I started using it towards the end of the semester and I really wish I used it sooner because I saw a dramatic increase in my grades whenever doing this. So basically, if you have an iPad, I highly recommend downloading something that you can just write on. So I downloaded Free Notes and it's completely free, which I love. And basically I would get my professor's lecture, and when I was in class I would go ahead and just write on it and write down exactly the key points she was talking about right on the slide. So therefore, whenever I would take notes in class, I knew exactly what I was talking about and what the notes were referring to. Because I don't know if this happens to you, but whenever I write on my notebook, just writing notes during lecture, I end up forgetting what the notes are even talking about. Yeah, it'll say something specific, but just having that visual there really helped. Just basically writing down notes that are super important next to a visual picture, because this you're able to remember it a lot better. So the thymus and red bone marrow, and I put it contains primary lymphoid organs, just things like this. Just writing down on the lecture PowerPoint is honestly key. Another tip that I have is to get a whiteboard, because a whiteboard is literally going to save you. I used it throughout A&P 1 and 2 and it honestly helped me. one tip that I would recommend when using the whiteboard is basically like whatever you learned in class, just brain dump it onto the whiteboard. And this is just you doing active recall, and then whatever like you need to go back on, whatever information you're missing or that you're a little bit confused about, you can just go in and correct what you wrote down or add to that. So that's something that I highly recommend doing. Anything that involves active recall, like flashcards, games, the whiteboard method, anything like that, I would highly recommend, and you'll definitely be set to get an A in your class if you do those 3 things. Okay, so I brought my little skeletons here because I recommend that you get these to study. Like, it really saved me, and especially if you're a hands-on learner, this is very, very important. I believe I got this for like $15 on Amazon. It wasn't bad at all. You can really just look at all of the structures and identify what it is that you're struggling with, and this just really helps you be hands-on when learning and fully understand what you're looking at. I also got this guy, and I think he was like $10-12. I don't know. If I'm wrong, I'm gonna put the price on the screen, but he wasn't bad. I also got him from Amazon, and this is really nice like when you're learning the bones for the first time, because I know it can be a lot of information, but like once you learn it, you actually learn it and that information sticks with you. But if you're a hands-on learner, I highly recommend getting things like this. So it's really cool to learn like the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton and just parts of the skeleton itself. Another tip that I want to give you is that you should just really romanticize being in school and learning the human body, because it really is such an astonishing and amazing thing, and it's just so like, it's just so crazy to think how your body works and what it does every single day. Also, you always have to think about your goal, like why are you doing this, because that will save you if you're going through a hard time with school. Just remembering your why is very, very important. Another tip that I have is to go to YouTube and look for videos that really breaks down the information. I personally love going to Crash Course, and I loved using Registered Nurse RN. Just watching their videos really helped me, or just really any videos on YouTube that really just summarize the information and break it down as simple as possible. So something else that I started to do was going through my textbook if I really just did not understand the information and just wanted to really grasp what I was learning. I learned this from someone on YouTube actually. They recommended to go to the chapter that you're learning and flip to the back, because in each chapter there's a summarized version of what's inside of it, because textbook information is so much fluff that we really truthfully do not have the time to go through all of it. So for example, we have the muscular system. If you flip to the back of the chapter, you can see the chapter summary, and I believe all textbooks have this. If not, then I'm sure there's another way. But basically, like, it just goes into detail, like of the skeletal muscle, and it just summarizes everything, like cross bridge cycling and everything. It talks about ATP. So just go into the back of your textbook and going through the summary really helped me. And I also started doing this towards the very end of the semester, but this is like such key. So staying organized also is key. Over here is my binder, and you can make a cute like aesthetic like cover if you want, but it's not really necessary. So something that I did in both classes, A&P 1 and 2, is I would always make a study guide. So basically, whether or not your professor provides them, like over here my professor provided this study guide, whether or not they provide them, you should definitely make one. So this is an example of a study guide that I made. It was for lecture exam 3, and it was over the urinary system and a few other chapters. But like I said, I'm a visual learner, so I put like pictures and really just took notes on it and highlighted key information. I also took whatever my professor really like honed in on and emphasized during lecture. I always made sure to write that down and turn it into questions. And yeah, this is just an example of a study guide that I made and that I highly recommend doing because it really helps you to learn the material. You should also get these dividers because it really helps you stay organized. So for each lecture exam that my professor gave us, we were like going over, it was over like a few chapters. So it wasn't just one chapter. Like for example, it would be 3 or 4. So those 3 or 4 chapters, you would have your study guides inside of this little folder. And whenever it's time for finals, you can go to these little folders and just go back and really study what it is that you really need to focus on. So staying organized is key because it's a lot of information, like I said, and that way whenever it comes to final, it's a lot easier. But over here is like one folder, here's another one, and then another one. But yeah, it really helps me, so I think it'll help you as well. But yeah guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to comment them down below and I will do my best to help you out because we're all in this together and I believe that you can do this. You're going to get that A and just stay positive and act as Rory from the Gilmore Girls if you watch her, because just being in that mindset really helped me get through A&P and just, like I said, remembering your why and why you're doing this.